So from here on out, things are going to get a little bit more subjective. I'm not going to be able to give you, literal step by step for everything. Well, I'll try to give you step by step for the basic activities that we do. But overall, if you look at these images for the wheels, for example, you'll notice that they're not very detailed. And if you go online, you'll find very slight variations in all the different images that you find for the different wheels, because different wheels were used on different versions of the car. If someone builds it now, they're going to use a different wheel than if it was built in 1911. So if we go back to the finished mesh that we did, you'll notice that we interpreted the wheels in a certain way. And this is, like I said, it's largely an interpretation based on looking at lots of different photos and choosing the ones that we like the most. So you can definitely do that yourself. I'm going to show you a technique for building, in this video, a rim like this one. And then you can choose whether or not you want to change that as you model. We're going to use these as vehicles for learning tools that you can then use to make your own design decisions. Okay, so let's go back over here, and I'm going to select that wheel mesh that we just created. And rather than start from scratch, I think it would be easiest to just go to polygon selection mode by hitting 3 on the keyboard. I'm going to select a few of these polys, and then go up to select, and then down to loop, or hit the L key on the keyboard, and that's what I'm going to do from now on. Also, I'll hold the Shift key, and then grab a few in the next loop, and once again hit L for loop to get that entire loop. Now I want these to be separated from the rest of the tire, so I'm going to just use a handy little trick, Control X, Control V. Basically just cut and paste. It's going to cut and paste those polys into the mesh, and now we have two separate sets of polys. If I double click one, it only selects the one. Now I'm going to double click to select this tire mesh on the outside, and then hit the H key for hide. That's up in the select or view menu, I'm sorry, under hide selected. And you'll notice to get that back, you can just hit U to unhide. Now, when you're dealing with hidden and unhidden, H and unhide, H and U, that is a temporary state, and it's a state that doesn't last across sessions. So if you quit Modo and come back in, all of your hidden geometry will come back automatically. Okay, just so that you're aware of that. I'm going to hit H to hide, select this interior geometry, and then hit B for bevel. Now we have used the bevel tool over here in the basic tools several times. It's possibly the most versatile and powerful modeling tool in Modo's tool set. There are lots of great tools, of course, but bevel is the one we probably use more than any other because it's just incredibly useful. Does all kinds of things. I'm going to click in the viewport to activate that tool. And then as I drag the inset handle, I want you to make sure that Group Polygons is enabled. If it's not enabled, notice it's going to do all of those polys separately, which is a kind of cool effect, but that's not what we're after in this case. Let's make sure that it's checked. I'm going to just pull that back out some and pull it in so that we're creating a little bit of a rim here. And then to reactivate a tool, as you know, we just hold Shift and click in the viewport, and now we can pull in again. And I'm going to Shift click, pull that out some, and also in a little bit. Shift click, pull that in a little bit, Shift click, and just for fun, I'm going to pull back a little bit in here as well, just to get a little bit of shapeliness into the inside of this wheel. I'm going to hit Escape to drop the tool and Escape to drop the selection. Now I'll hit Tab to smooth that out, and that is more or less the shape that I want. But it's not quite as detailed as I would like. Now, we've talked about this before. When you want to harden an edge in sub-D land, there are several ways to do it. We can do it using a technique called edge weighting, and we're going to talk about that in a separate video. But for now, I want to drive home this idea that the most bulletproof way of adding detail to a mesh is to add more geometry. So if we hit Tab here, these two edges, there are only two edges here, and therefore they're very smooth, right? Only two spans means extremely smooth. Well, if I grab this edge by double-clicking it, hit B for edge bevel, click and drag in the viewport, make sure that my round level is set to 1 once again, hit Escape to drop the tool, and Tab again, And now we're going to get a nice sharp edge there. And that is because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 spans in here. And that's going to demand more detail than just the 2 spans would have. So I'm going to do that with several of these edges here. Just I can do them all at once just by grabbing these by holding the Shift key while I double click on each edge. And then B for bevel, drag in the viewport. We can do all of those at the same time. Hit Escape to drop the tool, Escape to drop the selection, Tab to smooth it, and that's going to be a nice crisp mesh for us. Now, one last thing, I'd like these to roll over at the top. So let's just select that edge loop, go to our Edge tools in the toolbox, and grab the Extend tool, or Z on the keyboard. From now on, I will use the Z shortcut, because that's what I'm accustomed to doing. Click in the viewport to activate the tool, and then drag the X handle to pull it over. Hit Escape to drop the tool. Grab this guy, Z, click in the viewport, and drag that over. That should be plenty for us. So that's done. Let's hit U to unhide, or of course we could go to View and down to Unhide, and that will bring back that tire mesh. Now we do have a slight problem here. Notice that the tire polys never got subdivided when we were hitting Tab, whereas these ones are. So these are SDS polys. If we hit Tab on them, they're smooth, and these ones are not. That is okay. That's allowed in Modo. You can have as many smooth and unsmooth polys in a single mesh item as you want, though that can create some confusion for you down the line. So I would recommend selecting these exterior polys and hitting the Tab key so that everything is smooth. That way there's no confusion. If we hit the Tab key, everything is faces or everything is subdivs. Now, if this should happen to you and you're having trouble differentiating between the two, we do have quick ways of dealing with that, but I'm going to get to that in another lesson. Okay, so let's select this exterior loop and this exterior loop. I'll hit R for scale those in a little bit on that x-axis. And then also, I'll grab the ZY circle here and scale it in slightly. And hit Escape to drop the tool, Escape to drop the selection, and we're off to the races. This is starting to look like a shape. In the next video, I think we'll add a little bit of detail to that tire, so stay tuned.